We tell me.
Yeah, me out of lane.
Doctor dancing.
Me, Doctor dancing me out the phone number she last speaker. Oh, say be woman, no?
Doctor dancing, watching it. Young out in it, no.
Yangia, hold day, Yangia. Matu phone number of the we may. Dear was a kind of line.
Also, Shama, life is so like not simply not to know or life later on something like that. We can have okay or something.
Oh, sorry, line.
Okay, so we can.
Very good evening. I'm Professor Demopu, Professor of Pediatrics, University of Medicine 2. Today, I will take the role of chairperson of this free paper presentation. Professor Desimon, Professor and Head of Pediatric Medicine Mandalay, will accompany with me to take the chair in this session. We have the 4 free paper presentation. Regarding this, 10-minute presentation and 5-minute question and answer session. The first presentation would be the modified Tony score for assessment of hypoxemia in neonate with respiratory distress. This will be presented by Dr. Kikai Tong. Supervisor are Dr. Thierry Du and me, Professor Demopu. So, Dr. Kikai Tong, please present your paper and share your screen, please.
Okay, Mama. Good afternoon, all of my senior and junior colleagues. I am Dr. Kikhainton, Specialty Assistant Surgeon from Mugui Teaching Hospital. Today, I would like to present my paper presentation. The title is Modified Towning Score for Assessment of Hypoxemia in Neonate with Respiratory Distress. Introduction. First is the most vital parameter in the beginning of life. Respiratory distress is among the most common symptom complex thing in newborn infant. A variety of respiratory and non-respiratory disorders clinically represent as respiratory distress. Respiratory distress is one of the commonest causes of intensive care unit admission worldwide, occurring about 30 to 40% of all admission, and it occurs in 7% of all newborn. And also it has significant implication for morbidity and mortality in newborn, cause of death in neonate with respiratory distress, multi-organ failure, hypoxemia and hypercapnia, cause mixed metabolic and respiratory failure, accumulation of lactate, impaired perfusion, and respiratory failure. Neonate with hypoxemia has 3.1 times higher mortality rate. Hypoxemia is a clear indicator for inpatient care setting. Shown to a risk pattern for death and is likely to be supportive care, especially oxygen administration. If hypoxemia can be detected in early stage, these adverse effects can be prevented by giving respiratory support as early as possible. Management of respiratory distress in neonate include emergency management and ongoing management. Emergency management include correction of hypoxemia with hypovolemia. To correct hypoxemia, oxygen can be given with nasal bronch and nasal catheter with flow of 1 liter per minute. Oxygen can also be given with pacemaker or headphones with higher oxygen flow. If not improved with this method, the use of continuous positive airway pressure may be beneficial. If not, ventilator can be used. Hypoxemia is a common and lethal complication of respiratory distress in neonate. So it is necessary to detect hypoxemia in early stage. Hypoxemia is best detected thoroughly by arterial blood gas, which is not available in some developing countries. Alternatively, oxygen tension can be measured intraorally by determination of fractional oxygen saturated hemoglobin and estimate of the amount of oxygen in the blood by best oximeter. It's non-invasive, easy to use, and gives saturation of arterial blood reading within seconds after application of transducer suddenly. These features are of benefit to be used during stabilization before admission to the neonatal unit. The best oximeter threshold for detecting hypocemia, this shows if carboxy hemoglobin is less than 2%, the best oximeter has a sensitivity of 92% and specificity of 90%. If carboxy hemoglobin is more than or equal to 2%, sensitivity is sensitivity is 81% and specificity is 84%. Best oximeter is the best objective measurement of hypocemia. However, it's also expensive and is not widely available in developing countries, so healthcare workers in developing countries often rely on clinical science to decide on oxygen therapy. Scoring system were proposed for assessment of respiratory distress in neonates. Among them, Downey score and Silverman-Anderson score are widely used for quick diagnosis of respiratory distress and assessment of its severity. Downey score is used for assessment of both term and preterm newborn, whereas Silverman-Anderson score has been used only in preterm baby. They have 5 parameters in modified Downey score. They are cyanosis, gradient, chest wall retraction, air entry, respiratory rate. Each parameter has score of 2 at most. Total score more than 4 suggests clinical respiratory distress and impending respiratory failure occur if total score more than 7. Objective, general objective, to study the modified Downey score for the assessment of hypocemia and neonate with respiratory distress, Macquarie Teaching Hospital and Macquarie Regional Hospital and Macquarie Teaching Hospital. Specific objective, to measure oxygen saturation by using a neonatal best oximeter in study group, to determine the modified Downey score in neonate with respiratory distress, to find out the validity of modified Downey score. Research methodology, study design, hospital-based cross-sectional analysis study, study area, neonatal units of Macquarie Regional Hospital and Macquarie Teaching Hospital. Study period from 1st January 2018 to 31st December 2018. Study population, neonate with respiratory distress admitted to Macquarie Regional Hospital and Macquarie Teaching Hospital. This is a semicircle calculation formula. Inclusion criteria, neonate with signs of respiratory distress. Exclusion criteria, neonate with fever, impaired perfusion, severe anemia, polycythemia, and extremely low blood weight less than 1 kg. This data shows distribution of study cases by gender. This data shows distribution of study cases by gestation and age. This data shows distribution of hypocemia by gestation, and this also shows distribution of study cases by cyanosis, by entry, by grading, by chest wall retraction, by respiratory rate. This data shows distribution of study cases by respiratory distress based on modified Downey score, score 2. This data shows diagnostic validity of modified Downey score, score 2. This data shows prediction of hypocemia in neonate by using modified Downey score with cutoff point score 2. Sensitivity 100% and specificity 0%. This is a cutoff point score 3, sensitivity 100% and specificity 1.8%. This is a cutoff point score 4, sensitivity 100% and specificity 60.9%. This is a cutoff point score 5, sensitivity 95% and specificity 71.8%. This is a cutoff point score 6, sensitivity 90% and specificity 82.7%. This is a cutoff point score 7, sensitivity 70% and specificity 95.45%. This is a cutoff point score 8, sensitivity 50% and specificity 99.09%. This is a cutoff point score 9, sensitivity 25% and specificity 100%. Discussion. In this study, modified Downey score was used to detect respiratory distress in neonate. It has a 5 parameters: cyanosis, gradient, chest wall retraction, and 3 respiratory rate. Each parameter has score of 2 at most. Total score more than 4 suggests respiratory distress and impending respiratory failure occur if total score more than 7. There are 113 neonate. These are already described. Based on modified Downey score, score 2, based on score 2, 100% sensitivity and low specificity. Based on score 2, 100% sensitivity but low specificity 0%, positive predictive value was 15.4% and negative predictive value 0%, accuracy revealed 15.4%. In the study done by Aniter, 97% sensitivity and 20% specificity. Based on score 3, Sensitivity was high 100%, best specificity was poor 1.8%. Positive predictive value was 15.6% and negative predictive value was 100%. Accuracy was 16.92%. Sensitivity was 97% and specificity was 53% in the original study editor. According to modified Downey score, Carabai score for sensitivity was high 100%, specificity was better 60.9%. Positive predictive value was 31.7% and negative predictive value 100%. Accuracy was 66.92%. In the study done by editor, 97% sensitivity and 65% specificity. According to Carabai, based on Carabai score 5, high sensitivity 95% and 71.8% specificity. Positive predictive value was 38% and negative predictive value 98.75%. Accuracy was 75.38%. Sensitivity was 88% and specificity was 81% in the original study. According to modified Downey score 6, sensitivity was high 90% with specificity was 82.7%. Positive predictive value was 48.6% and negative predictive value 97.8%. Accuracy was 75.38%. In the study done by editor, 44% sensitivity and 98% specificity. Based on score 7, sensitivity was 70% with high specificity 95.45%. Positive predictive value was 73.68% and negative predictive value 94.59%. Accuracy was 75.38%. Sensitivity was 31%, specificity was 98% in the original study. Based on score 8, lower sensitivity 50% together with better specificity 99.09%. Positive predictive value was 90.91% and negative predictive value was 91.6%. Accuracy was 75.38%. In the study done by editor, 9% sensitivity and 98% specificity were observed. Based on score 9, sensitivity was poor 25% with high specificity 100%. Positive predictive value was 100% and negative predictive value 88.0%. Accuracy was 75.38%. In the study done by editor, 3% sensitivity and 98% specificity were observed. Discussion and linear correlation was found between Downey score and PO2 based on the study of conducted by Downey's. Hypoxemia occurred in 50 mm mercury PO2 and Downey score of 5. And also in the study done by editor in Indonesia, the hypoxemia limit from modified Downey score was identified by determining the cutoff point in receiver operator cat at Downey score of 5. In this study, the hypoxemia limit was at modified Downey score of 6 with sensitivity of 90% and specificity of 82.7%. So the cutoff point for hypoxemia was one score higher than that found by the Downey's original research. Because of the sensitivity 90% and specificity 82.7%, modified Downey score can be used to evaluate hypoxemia accurately in unit with respiratory distress. The study also showed that a scoring system which requires only basis case and minimum training for evaluating clinical signs to assess hypoxemia, and it can also be used as a basis for oxygen therapy and referral plan. The limitation of the study was that it was not blinded, saying it will not be ethical if the examiner do not assess clinical sign and pass oximeter in unit with respiratory distress. In ID saturation, arterial blood gas analysis is the best measure to detect arterial hypoxemia because of its expense and availability. Pulse oximeter was used for determination of fractional oxygen saturated hemoglobin and estimate of the amount of oxygen in the blood. From this study, the presence of hypoxemia in unit with respiratory distress was significantly correlated with modified Downey score of 6 with sensitivity of 90% and specificity of 82.7%. So simple clinical signs involved in modified Downey score must still be used to identify hypoxemia in unit with respiratory distress and also serve as a guide for referral or oxygen administration. These are my reference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Kikaitun, for your very interesting presentation. Now, floor is open. Any question, please? Kikai, can you look for the chat box, please? Is there any question? So far, nothing question. Any question, please? If no question, shall we continue the second speaker?
Second speaker is Dr. Dante Ang, specialist ES in Paediatrics from 550 bedded Children's Hospital, Mandalay. He will present a paper of nutrition risk and nutritional status in hospitalized children. Dr. Dante Ang, please.
Stop share လေးလုပ်ပေးပါအောင်ခင်ဗျာ share screen လေး stop ပေးပါအောင်ခင်ဗျာ
First speaker, stop share လုပ်ပေးပါ
ခိုင် stop share လုပ်လိုက်ပါတယ်
Good afternoon, Chairperson and honorary guests and all the audience. I am Dr. Dante Ang. I am specially ES from 550 bedded Mandalay Children's Hospital.
ရပြီနော်
Today, I would like to present a paper, Nutrition Risk Goals and Nutritional Status in Hospitalized Children. These are my supervisors and my mentors. Introduction, undernutrition has a problem in hospitalized children with prevalence of 5% in developed countries and 50% in developing countries. A study conducted in Germany stated 24.1% of hospitalized children were malnourished. Among them, 70% were mildly, 4.4% were moderately, and 1.7% were severely malnourished. The nutritional status of children often deteriorates after admission to hospital. A study suggests less than 50% of children in acute medical and surgical illness were nutritionally compromised. Riley developed a nutrition risk score by incorporating percent ID body weight for height in children, food intake, and stress factors. In 2016, total 23,245 patients were admitted to 550 bedded Mandalay Children's Hospital, in which 70 cases were diagnosed as undernourished. To prevent malnutrition, especially hospital-acquired malnutrition along with complications, early identification is essential, ideally on admission to hospital. It provides the pediatricians with the opportunity to apply appropriate nutritional interventions in the hope of preventing complications. Aim of this study is to study the nutritional status and nutrition risk score in hospitalized children in 550 bedded Mandalay Children's Hospital. Objectives were to determine the proportion of undernutrition in hospitalized children, to determine the level of nutrition risk score in hospitalized children, to find out the association between nutrition risk score and undernutrition, to describe the demographic factors and factors associated with undernutrition in hospitalized children. And the last is to find out the association between nutrition risk score and associated factors of undernutrition in hospitalized children. Study design was hospital-based cross-sectional descriptive study conducted in medical units of 550 bedded Children's Hospital, Mandalay, from 1st January 2018 to 31st December 2018. Study population was 2 to 12-year-old children admitted to 550 bedded Mandalay Children's Hospital. Exclusion criteria were children admitted to ICU, children with conditions that markedly affect hydration, and children with musculoskeletal conditions which limit standard nutritional measurements. These are the results. Figure 1 shows proportion of underweight, standing, and wasting in hospitalized children. Among 300 hospitalized children, underweight is 30%, standing is 31.3%, and wasting is 53%. Figure 2 shows frequency distribution of level of nutrition risk score in hospitalized children. Low risk NRS was 47% and high risk NRS was 53%. Table 1 shows frequency distribution of demographic factors in undernutrition in hospitalized children. These will be discussed later. Table 2 shows frequency distributions of associated factors of undernutrition in hospitalized children. And these figures will be discussed later. Table 3 shows association between nutrition risk score and undernutrition. Underweight standing and wasting all are associated with high-risk nutrition risk score. Table 4 shows association between NRS and demographic factors of undernutrition. And this will be discussed later. Table 5 shows frequency distribution of level of NRS in hospitalized children by associated illness. Discussion, proportional undernutrition in hospitalized children. In this study, proportional underweight standing and wasting were 30%, 31.3%, and 53.3% respectively. It is higher than any other studies which conducted in Vietnam and also in Australia. Level of nutrition risk scores in hospitalized children. According to this study, number of low-risk NRS was 47% and high-risk NRS was 53%, and it is much higher than any other studies. Demographic factors and factors associated with undernutrition in hospitalized children. Among 300 hospitalized children, points were 61.33% and girls were 38.67%. It does not much differ from any other studies. Among age distribution, highest number of hospitalized children was 2 to 5 year age group, and regarding residents, nearly equal distributions of rural and urban areas. And regarding the family member, most common group is 5 to 7 family members. Association between nutrition risk score and undernutrition. Among underweight children, high-risk children were associated with underweight standing and wasting. This coincides with other studies. Association between nutrition risk score and associated factors of undernutrition. Among low-risk group, 78 were males and 62 were females, and there is no significant gender difference. And male preponderance in high-risk groups. In terms of age categories, 2 to 5 year age group were associated with high-risk NRS. This did not coincide with other studies which conducted in Australia. Among urban residents, 90 were low risk and 78 were high risk, whereas among rural residents, 40 were low risk and 92 were high risk. And it is that most of the rural residents were high risk group. And NRS is independent of number of family members, mother's educational status, and monthly family income. Conclusion, the proportion of undernutrition was high, and this will allow us to identify the children at risk to intervene nutritional supplementation more vigorously. Level of NRS detected in this study was higher than any other studies. High nutrition risk scores were associated with undernutrition. This means that it can detect the risk of undernutrition once the child was admitted to hospital. High-risk NRS was associated with male gender and 2 to 5 year age group. NRS is independent of mother's educational status, number of family members, and monthly family income. In Myanmar, limited regional data were available about hospital-based proportional undernutrition. NRS can be used to prioritize children at risk of undernutrition in resource-limited situations. Recommendation, most studies were required to assess the proportional undernutrition in hospitalized children and to intervene the hospital nutritional supplementation programs. Moreover, another factors like length of hospital stay and family socio-economic status should be included. In this study, we can only detect admission nutritional status. Nutritional status as discharge should also be screened, and that may point us to adverse changes of nutritional status during hospitalization. Thank you for your attention. Hello? 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 Oh, okay.
Chat box လေးမှာတော့လေအခုဒေါက်တာတန်းထက်အောင်အတွက်မေးတဲ့ question တော့မတွေ့ဘူး။ဒါပေမဲ့ဒေါက်တာကေခိုင်ထွန်းအတွက်မေးတဲ့ question လေးတစ်ခုတော့တွေ့နေတယ်။
ကဲပါမဟုတ်
မင်းကေခိုင်ဖြေမလားယင်
ကဲမဟုတ်အမက neonatal respiratory distress ဆိုရင်တော့မ sensitivity ကပိုတော့မှအရေးကြီးရလို့ထင်ပါတယ်မ
ဟုတ်ပါပြီကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်မကလည်းဘာကိုသတိထားမိလဲဆိုတော့တပည့်ကအဲ့ဒီ score cut off point ကို6ကိုယူလိုက်တဲ့အချိန်မှာအဲ့ဒါက specificity အတွက်ကိုအမြင့်ဆုံးမဟုတ်သေးပဲနဲ့ sensitivity အတွက်အမြင့်ဆုံးယူထားတာပေါ့နော်ဒါပေမဲ့ဒါမှမဟုတ်ရင်လည်းဒီ point က both sensitivity ရော specificity ရောအတွက်ကိုနှစ်ခုလုံးမှာအမြင့်ဆုံးဖြစ်နေတာလားလေးတစ်ချက် clarify လုပ်ပေးပါနော်
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ပါမဟုတ်ကဲ့
သမီးယူဆတယ်လို့မျိုးအဲ့ဒီ sensitivity ကပို့ပြီးတော့အရေးပါတယ်ဆိုတဲ့အဓိပ္ပာယ်ကdetection ပေါ့နော် whether is it true or not ကအရေးမကြီးသေးဘူးဘယ်လောက်ထိhypoxic ဖြစ်တဲ့ဟာကိုsuspicion အနေနဲ့ဒါဟာ hypoxic ဖြစ်နေပြီဆိုတာမျိုးကိုသိဖို့ရတာကအရေးကြီးတယ်လို့ဆိုလိုတာလို့နားလဲရတာပေါ့နော်ဒါကို professor ဒေါ်သဇင်မွန်တို့ဒေါ်တင်မိုးဖြူတို့ professor တွေကတော့သဘောတူပါလားမသိပါဘူး
ဟုတ်ပါတယ်မသူအဲ့ဒါလေးကတော့ဒီ scoring system လေးကလေသူခုနရှင်းပြသလို score နှစ်ခုရှိတယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒီ Donny score ကတော့10 or pre-10 အတွက်ကိုအသုံးဝင်တဲ့ score လေးပါသူပြောသလိုပဲ sensitivity ကတော့ပို့ပြီးတော့အရေးကြီးပါတယ်မ
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ပါအဲ့ဒါဆိုရင်တော့သူ6ကို score 6ကိုသူဖြတ်လိုက်တယ်ဆိုတာလေးကအဆင်ပြေတာပေါ့လေနော်
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ပါမဟုတ်ကဲ့
ဟုတ်ပြီ thank you ပါ
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ thank you ပါမ thank you ပါတခြား question တော့မတွေ့ဘူးเนาะ
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ပါမ
second speaker အတွက် question တွေတော့မတွေ့ဘူးဖြစ်နေအဲဆိုကျမတို့ third speaker ကိုတွားလိုက်မယ်တွားလိုက်ရင်ကောင်းမယ်ထင်တယ်เนาะthird speaker would be the Dr. Pan Iphu. She will present intestinal worm infestation in preschool children with gastroenteritis. Our supervisor was Dr. Win Tandashri. So, Dr. Pan, if you please present your presentation and share screen, please.
Okay, Mama. Good evening, Saya, Mama, and my colleagues. I am Dr. Pan. Okay, Mama. I am Dr. Pan from Yangon Children's Hospital. I would like to present my paper presentation. Title is Intestinal Worm Infestation in Preschool Children with Gastroenteritis. Introduction: more than 1.5 billion people, or 24% of world populations, are infected with intestinal parasitic infection worldwide. Myanmar is hyper-endemic area for ascariasis, especially in wet humid lowlands of the country. In Myanmar, parasitic infections are 26.
တန်တိုးနေတယ်နော်တန်တိုးနေတယ်ဘာလို့လဲသူဒီဘက်ကဟာလေးကို microphone လေးကိုနှိပ်ရမယ်
Okay.
Myanmar
is a hyper-endemic area for ascariasis, especially in the wet humid lowland of the country. In Myanmar, parasitic infections are 26% of all infectious disease. Number of children require preventive chemotherapy for swine-transmitted helminthiasis is more than 12 million. According to WHO global data for Myanmar 2016, WHO recommended that national coverage of preschool children is 100% and school-age children is 95.35%. The prevalence and risk factors may vary among different age groups, different populations, different countries, and different communities. The purpose of the study is to find out the proportion of worm infestation in preschool children with gastroenteritis and important risk factors to provide the basic data for control of intestinal parasites in local community in future. Aim of the studies are as follows. Aim is to study the intestinal worm infestation in preschool children with gastroenteritis. Objective of the study are to find out the proportion of worm infestation, to describe the social demographic characteristic, and to find out the associated risk factors. Methods and procedures. Initially, informed consents were taken from caregiver. Questionnaires were filled by interviewing the caregiver, especially mothers. Then caregivers were explained how to collect stool samples. The collected sample was immediately sent to National Health Laboratory for stool examination. Stool PRs were examined by saline wet mouth techniques and edge counting ketogenic techniques called cellophane fecal smear. Then the results of the different methods of stool examination were examined. The association between worm infestation and risk factors was found out by using chi-square test or facial X-ray test, whatever appropriate after checking the necessary assumption. These are the results of the study. Table 1 shows proportion of worm infestation in preschool children with gastroenteritis. It shows that 33% of children have worm infestation among 100 children. Figure 2 shows the comparison the results of the two studies. It shows that ketogenic techniques gave more stool positivity than saline wet mouth techniques. Table 3 and 4 show the association between social demographic, environmental, and sanitary risk factors after logistic regression analysis. After a logistic regression analysis, three risk factors were found out as the strongest risk factors. They are low maternal educational level, residence in pre-urban areas, and no hand washing with soap and water after defecation. Discussion: swine transmitted helminths infection is a serious health problem in developing countries. It's a major cause of morbidities in preschool children. This study identified the 4 types of intestinal worms in preschool children with gastroenteritis. The overall prevalence was 33%. In 2003 previous study at Yangon Children's Hospital, the parasitic prevalence was 12% in preschool children with gastroenteritis. In similar study in Pakistan 2012, the prevalence of worm infestation is 51% with similar age group. These various findings among the study might be due to variation in social demographic condition, individual behavioral habit of the selected population, and the method employed for stool examination, the sample size taken, and time of the study. In this study, the most common age group with positive worm infestation was 2 to 3 years, 38.5%. Girls were more likely to be infected than boys, and male-female ratio was 1:2. In this study, low family income, low parental educational status were significantly associated risk factor for worm infestation. Outside home working mother was also a significant risk factor, and p-value was 0.05. But family size is not associated with worm infestation. The previous study in Myanmar 1994 showed that good personal hygiene could prevent diarrhea, and low levels of maternal educational and socio-economic status and low income was a significant risk factor for diarrhea. Bad educational status of the father was not associated. In one study in Turkey, OKRD 2004 agreed literacy rate and mother's occupation were important in helminth transmission. In this study, source of the drinking water were associated with worm infestation, best using and purifying water, distance between latrine and water source less than 15 feet, and presence of animal excreta around the house were associated risk factors. Hand washing before eating, after defecation, before food preparation were also important risk factor in this study, p-value 0.001. Moreover, it showed that eating on the floor, eating raw and washed foods or vegetables, and eating mashed and pickle habit had association with worm infestation. However, regular bed was not associated with infestation. In this theory, habit of the children such as nail biting, thumb sucking, and biting of the fingernails, food weight habit, and rearing of the domestic animal had association with worm infestations. Type of the latrine was not associated with infestation because 97% of the 97% of the population in this theory used fly-proof latrine. Although these many risk factors were associated with worm infestation, they had many confounding factors. In order to remove these confounding factors, logistic regression analysis was done. After that, 3 risk factors were found out as most strongest risk factors. Conclusion: the results of the study indicate that intestinal worm infestation in preschool children is a common health problem and overall prevalence was 33%. The predominant type of worm infestation was ascaris lambrequoides, followed by trichoris, and followed by footworm and Antrobius vermicularis. Mixed organism was 12% of stool sample. Other organism was found in 9.1% of stool samples, and these other organisms were and amoeba histolytica and Hymenolapis diminuta. In this series, two examination methods were used. According to the saline one-mouth technique was easy to use but less sensitive than the modified KetoCat and unable to count the helmet ash. In this study, modified KetoCat method show most to positivity for worm infestation. In this study, sample size was small and the children came from the different areas, and so there might be many confounding factors. Therefore, logistic regression analysis was done to remove the confounding factors and to find out the strongest risk factor. And then 3 risk factors came out to become more strongly significant risk factor in this study group. They were low maternal educational level, residing in peri-urban areas, and no hand washing after defecations. Therefore, in this study group, it suggested that regular deworming and reduced risk factors were important for worm infestation. It is more likely that high levels of maternal education provide better sanitary conditions for children than low maternal educational level. So this theory indicates that health education should be given to the caregiver living in pre-urban areas about sanitation and personal hygiene, especially hand washing with soap and water after defecation. These are the references of the theory. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bang Pugh, for your interesting presentation. Now, question and answer session. Shall we see the check box? Check box မှာတော့မတွေ့ဘူး။အမတစ်ခုမေးချင်တာလေ။အမီပြောတဲ့အထဲမှာအမီအပြင်ထွက်ပြီးအလုပ်လုပ်ရင်တော့ one infestation များတယ်ဆိုတဲ့တစ်ချက်ပါတယ်နော်။
ဟုတ်ကဲ့အမ
Now on the other hand လေဟို educational level low ဖြစ်တာတို့ high ဖြစ်တာတို့ ਨੇ ဆိုင်ရင်အများသောအားဖြင့်ဟိုအမေတွေအပြင်ထွက်ပြီးအလုပ်လုပ်တယ် educational level နဲ့လေ coincide ဖြစ်မယ်ဆိုရင် one infestation များတယ်ဆိုတာကလေတမျိုးဟိုနည်းနည်းလေးပိုရှင်းပြပေးပါလား။
ဟုတ်ကဲ့အမ ဟိုကအပြင်ထွက်အလုပ်လုပ်တဲ့ဟိုအမဒီ study မှာတော့အပြင်ထွက်အလုပ်တဲ့အမေတွေမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကလေးကိုကြတော့ဟိုဂီးမဆိုင်နိုင်ဘူးပြီးတဲ့ခါကျတော့ကလေးကိုတခြားလူနဲ့ထားမယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒါဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဟိုက one infestation ပိုဖြစ်နိုင်တယ်ပေါ့နော်မေဟိုကအိမ်မှာပဲနေတဲ့ housewife အမေထက်စားလို့ရှိရင်တော့ပို့ပြီးတော့ဖြစ်နိုင်တယ်ပါဖြစ်နိုင်ပါတယ်အမအမေလေးဟိုအဲ့ဒီ risk factor တွေကပထမ chi-square test နဲ့တွက်လိုက်တဲ့အခါမှာတော့သူက significant ဖြစ်ပေမဲ့သူ့မှာက confounding factor စီပါတယ်မှာ confounding factor တွေပါတော့ logistic regression ပြန်လုပ်လိုက်တဲ့အခါကျတော့အဲ့ဒီဟာကတော့ significant ဖြစ်တဲ့တည်းမှာပါတော့ဘာလို့ဆိုတော့သူကအဲ့လို confounding factor စီရှိနေလို့မှာဟုတ်ကဲ့နောက်ဆုံးတော့အဲ့3ခုပဲကျန်တဲ့ထဲမှာတော့မပါဘူးမှာဟုတ်သူက
ဟို educational level နဲ့နှိမ့်မယ်အမေလည်းအပြင်ထွက်မယ်ဆိုရင်တော့ပိုဖြစ်နိုင်တာပေါ့နော်
ဟုတ်ကဲ့မဟုတ်ကဲ့
If there are no more questions, we'll move to next presentation. Dr. Tansen, Assistant Lecturer from Department of Pediatrics, University of Medicine 2. he will present accidental poisoning in children admitted to Yangon Children's Hospital. Dr. Tansi.
မကြောက်မကြောက်အောင်မကြောက်အောင်
မကြားလားမသိဘူးခင်ဗျ
မှတ်ကြတယ်
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ Good afternoon, my dear professor and all. Today I would like to present my paper presentation, and which is accidental poisoning in children admitted to Yangon Children's Hospital. I am Dr. Tansi, assistant lecturer from Department of Paediatrics, University of Medicine to Yangon. And thanks to my supervisor, Pai Cho, and my professor, Dr. Nyote. Poisoning can be defined as taking or being otherwise exposed to a substance or substances which are injurious to a person's health. Childhood poisoning is a major cause of morbidity in both the developing and developed world. In spite of the success of some intervention strategies to prevent accidental poisoning in the pediatric population, toxic injections continue to be a common occurrence. Poisoning is a significant global public health problem. The extent of the problem is different from one country to the other. In 16 developing countries, poisoning is the fourth biggest cause of unintentional injury after road traffic injuries, fires, and drowning. Further, according to data from WHO, an estimated 350,000 people died from unintentional poisoning in 2002. In 2004, acute poisoning caused more than 45,000 deaths in children and youth less than 20 years of age. It's the second most common cause of injury, resulting in the hospitalization of children under the age of 5 years. The pattern of incidence and the risk factors for children's acute poisoning change with time and different from country to country, and even between geographical areas within the same country. An American survey reveals that of the different external causes of unintentional injury and death among children aged between 1 and 14 years, poisoning ranked 4 after road traffic crashes, fires, and drowning. Accidental poisoning in children has been a problem for generations, but received little attention from pediatricians except in recent years. Due to the advent of immunization, there is reduction in childhood mortality from infectious diseases. Poisoning had not declined at the same rate as the infectious diseases, causing a major medical problem of childhood. However, unlike infectious diseases, the circumstances under which the poisoning happened and epidemiological grounds are totally preventable. So this study aims to get current situations of poisoning, associated risk factors, and management outcome of poison cases admitted to Yangon Children's Hospital. It is hoped that the study will also be beneficial in estimation of further logistic supplies for poison treatment center and prevention of accidental poisoning. Moreover, it can give health information about prevention of accidental poisoning to the family of the cases. It may also contribute to develop interventions to reduce harmful behavior which can cause poisoning in children in Myanmar. And this my study design is a hospital-based cross-sectional descriptive study, and is a 1-year period started from 1st January 2017 to 31st December 2017. My study area is all included in all medical wards, surgical ward, and intensive care unit of the Yangon Children's Hospital. And all children admitted for accidental poisoning to all these wards are included as my study population. And these are the results tables. And these are the number of cases admitted from January to December 2017. In this study period of 1 year, there were 104 cases among 21,000 above the 21,000 cases of total admission, represented as 0.49%. During this year, most cases were admitted in January, represented as 14 cases of total admission, 0.78%. And the least cases were admitted in September, represented as 5 cases among 1,743 cases of total admission, 0.29%. Regarding the distribution of different causes of poisoning, among 104 cases of accidental poisoning, the most common cases were medicine group, represented as 44 cases, and that is 44%. Among the medicine, methylated spirit or ethanol group and traditional medicine group were represented at 8 cases and 9 cases respectively. The second most common group was diesel, kerosene, petroleum group, which represented as 22 cases as 21%. The third most common group was detergent, shampoo, shower liquid group, and chemical fluid group, represented as 13%. But insecticides and pesticide group represented as only 2%. Regarding the association between types of poisoning and clinical outcome, and there is only one case expired, which was a case of kerosene poisoning. Regarding the age distribution among the accidental poisoning, the most common group was 1 to 3 years of age group, which represented as 63%, and the second most common was between 3 to 5 years of age group, which is represented as 20%. The least common group was above 10 years of age, as only 1%. Regarding the size distribution among the poisoning, and male cases were 69 cases, represented as 66%, and female cases were 34%. So male-female ratio is 2:1. Regarding the geographical distribution among the accidental poisoning, and most cases were occurred in urban area, say 65%, and peri-urban area is represented as 35%. Regarding the educational status of the children, and most cases were illiterate children, which is 73 cases represented as 70%, and the least common case is middle school children, which is represented as 3% only. Regarding the educational status of mother, most common group was a high school mother, which is represented as 25%, and the second common is a middle school mother, which is 23%. The least common is red and white only, is represented as 10% only. Regarding the distribution of type of the caretaker, mother the most common caretaker and represented as 73%. And the second most common is a grandparents, and which is about 24%. And father is a least group and represented as 3% only. Regarding the occupational status of mothers, working mother is the most common and 58%, and the 42% is a dependent mother. Regarding the family type of the accidental poisoning in children, and there is a nuclear type represented as 62% and external type represented as 38%. Regarding the route of exposure, almost all cases, that is 99% of the accidental poisoning occurs from oral route, and only one case is via the dermal route. Regarding the time of exposure, there is not much difference between the time of exposure between the daytime and nighttime. And in daytime, it's represented as 55%, and in nighttime, represented as 45%. Regarding the interval between time of exposure and consultation, in most of the cases, there is a 36% and 31% of the second most cases were consulted within 2 hours and 2 to 4 hours. Regarding the place of occurrence, most of the cases occurred in the parents' home, that is representing as 73%. And second most common place is the relatives' homes, representing as 18%. In neighbors' home, it's only 7%. In other area, that is only 2%. Regarding the type of containers, most of the containers are locked or capped, represented as 62%. There is an unlocked or uncapped is 38, representing as 38%. Regarding the ward distribution, almost all cases are admitted to the medical wards, that is 97%. There are 2 cases which was admitted to surgical ward, and only 1 case it was admitted to intensive care unit. Regarding about the management, most of the cases are managed via the observation only, that is 75%. only 26% need oxygenation, and one case need ventilator support and urinary equalization, and one cases need antidote. Regarding the clinical outcomes, only one case expired, that is 1%. In discussion, in this study, there were 21,124 cases of total admission in Yankee Children's Hospital from 1st January 2017 to 31st December 2017. Among them, there were 104 cases of accidental poisoning, represented as 0.49%. In this hospital, most cases were admitted in January, and these cases were admitted in September. Among the cases, the most common cause were due to medicine group, represented as 44%. Among the medicine, methylated spirit or ethanol group and traditional medicine were the most common cause. The second most common was diesel, kerosene, and petroleum grease. Among the cases, only one case died, which was the case of kerosene poisoning. Learning about the management, 35 cases were observation only, 35% needed oxygenation, and only one case in children required ventilator support, urinary equalization, and antidote, respectively. In this study, almost all cases had good clinical outcome and discharged after a few days of admission, but only one case expired, was a case of kerosene poisoning. So my conclusion, the following conclusions can be drawn after conducting the present study. The trend of accidental poisoning was rising in the recent years. The hospitalization due to accidental poisoning in Yankee Children's Hospital was nearly 0.41% in 2014, 0.45% in 2015, 0.43% in 2016, and 0.49% in 2017, respectively, of total admission. Among the various types of accidental poisoning, most cases were occurs compared to the other study. Prevention strategies against accidental poisoning are suboptimal. Home was still the most common place of accidental poisoning. Preventive procedures for various types of accidental poisoning were deficient. Among the cases, most cases occurred during daytime, so negligence of the mother upon their children was significant. Most of the cases were consulted within 2 hours. This showed that most of the parents were aware of their children after the incidents. So if health education and preventive measures are given with the current examples, most benefits will be gained. Although caretaker or mother have high or middle education, they had education status, they did not aware the proper safety storage of medicines and poisonous materials. Types of poisoning, amount and duration of consultation time may influence on clinical outcome. These are my references. So that's for your kind attention.
Thank you, Dr. Tessin, for very clear presentation. Now time is for Q&A session. Any comment, any question? Is there no more question? I am going to close this afternoon pre-paper presentation session. We have 4 research paper, detecting neonatal hypoxemia.
ကြားရဘူး
Hello, ကြားလားမသိရှင်
ဟိုနည်းနည်း volume ထပ်မြင့်လိုက်ရင်ကောင်းမယ်ခုနထက်တော့ပိုကြားရတယ်
Today we have 4 pre-paper presentation regarding the detecting neonatal hypoxemia, nutritional risk score, and worm infestation in children, and accidental poisoning in children admitted to hospital. Very interesting and very useful for our pediatric field. Congratulations for all speakers. You did in research previous year and presenting a very clear presentation. And lastly, I would like to thank to MMA organizing committee and academic committee for arranging this academic event in the era of COVID pandemic. I wish you all very good afternoon. Thank you.
So အားလုံးကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်နော်ပြီးပြီထင်တယ်
ကျေးဇူးအများကြီးတင်ပါတယ်
ကျေးဇူးပါဆရာတို့မမတို့ကျမတို့ leave လုပ်ရတော့မယ်ထင်တယ်နော်
ကျေးဇူးပါပဲခင်ဗျာကျွတ်နေစေ